Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm Krishna and I'm a research programming and community building officer at the MAP Academy, and I'm happy to welcome you this evening. Before we start, I'd like to let you know that this session will be recorded for future reference. This event is part of the MAP Academy Live program and has been organized in conjunction with our short course, Textiles from the Indian Subcontinent. Before we get started with today's session, I wanted to quickly share some information about an exciting new offering from the MAP Academy. We have had the privilege of working on a number of textile-related projects over the last few years. And we have recently partnered with Nalli Silks to offer a textile fellowship. The fellowship will offer 5.5 lakh rupees to one researcher and one educator working with South Asian textiles. Given that many of you in the audience today are interested in textiles, we hope that you will consider spreading the word and applying. The application deadline is 30th September, and you can find the application link on the chat. For today's session, we are thrilled to have with us textile innovator Namrata Bhutoria, co-founder of ColourAshram Foundation. Our team at the MAP Academy first met Namrata in Mysore earlier this year, and we had the incredible opportunity to have some hands-on experience working with dyes and learning about sustainable dyes and how these can be made more sustainable. And we realized there's a dearth of information on the topic of sustainable dyeing. And Namrata has been a really strong advocate for the transformative power of natural dyes, slow and mindful fashion, and her research and innovation focuses on textiles, their impact on our bodies, lives, and the environment, and seeking conscious ways to bring about a positive change. She is also the founder of the natural dye clothing label, Biome Conscious Fashion. So after the session, we'll also have a short Q&A, and if you have any questions for Namrata, feel free to drop them in the chat during the course of the presentation, and we'll open up the floor for discussion after that. A quick housekeeping note, it would be great if you could all keep your videos and audio off, just to ensure the smoothest experience. Once again, thank you all for joining us on a Thursday evening, and over to you, Namrata.
Thank you so much, Krishna, and thank you, MAP, for doing what you're doing. So here we are. So I want to start with that I am going to try and address natural dyeing from a point of view of some people knowing about it and some people not knowing about it. So some of you might know certain things already, so please excuse me for the extra repetition or information. So I want to begin with you taking a look at what you're wearing right now. I cannot see any of you, but I'm just hoping that everybody is like touching your fabric and feeling what you're wearing. And if you know exactly actually what you're wearing. And now about the color, about how it's looking. What is it? So the story that we're going to share today and what I'm going to share with you is about what gives the color to your clothes. And where does it come from? Why are we talking about natural colors? Are your colors that you're wearing not really natural? So what is it? Because I think I also came to know about this 15 years back, I think, when I joined this work. So till then, I did not know that there was chemicals in our clothing, and not just one or two. I mean, I wish I could ask everybody to take a guess about how many chemicals are used to sustain a textile industry for any garment to be made. There are about, and if anybody does want to take a guess, please feel free to leave the answer on the chat. So there are about 8,000 to 12,000 chemicals which are used to make the colors, the clothes, the way it is which you wear. So when I heard this the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is something very groundbreaking. I had no idea about it. And then the fact that it pollutes water. So immediately when chemicals came into the scene, I also got to know, because I was working with someone who's my co-founder now at ColourAshram. He shared his story about water pollution. the reason why natural dyes are really important as a solution. So when I came to know about the water pollution, the amount of water, drinking water, I would say rather, which gets polluted by textile industry, it's crazy, you know. Take a guess of how many liters of water how many liters of drinking water does textile industry pollute? I'm very carefully choosing my words because when I say drinking water, textile industry needs RO clean water. That's nice. Somebody has written 12,000 liters. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So what I was saying was that it's drinking water, it's RO water, it's very clean water that needs to be used. Textile industry actually cannot use saline water or dirty water or any contaminated water. And the second thing I said was that uh, it pollutes. I did not use the word use. Textile industry is not using water. It is definitely polluting water. Why I'm saying this is because once textile industry has used this water, nobody can actually use it, and it's extremely difficult to clean it. If at all, partially cleaning is kind of the only thing that could happen, but that also very big industries can do it because it's very expensive to clean water. And so, I mean, somebody wrote 12,000 liters. So it's around in one t-shirt, actually, in a cotton t-shirt's lifetime, 2,500 liters of water is polluted, of drinking water. And then the story about other fabrics, other kinds of fibers would be very different. But this is just an average, a cotton t-shirt. So these are some kind of figures that I got to know. And then I was like, okay, so why are we not doing something about it? And by the time I was already very overwhelmed and very curious about why we are consuming so much. So coupled with this, you know, curiosity about finding complete mindlessness in the consumption and this new information, I got into the subject and then I got to know deeper about it that there used to be natural dyeing, which was not so polluting. And I'll come to it why I'm saying not so polluting. Just 150 years back. So chemical dyes were discovered just in 1850s. And in 1900s, they became full blown. And in just 150 years, we have completely forgotten, erased the memory of natural dyes. Why I'm saying erased is because you cannot find a natural dye garment selling in a shop, or you can't find it very easily to buy. There must be a lot of you who love textiles, who love handicraft, because if you're following MAP, I'm sure that you love all of these things. But so maybe you are informed about natural dyes because anybody who follows handicraft would have heard the word natural dye associated with it. But most of the people who are go out in a mall or they shop online or whatever, they would not find natural dye clothing easily to buy. That's why I'm saying that erased from the memory completely. And right now, as we are talking, since COVID, the whole surge of searching for eco-friendly dyeing, natural dyeing has really gone up, like, you know, is rising every day. So, but it's just not now. The amount of water pollution that has been happening over the past many years has already put an alarm for industries to phase out chemical dyes and to look for solutions, to look for natural dyes. And very big names, very big brands, very big honchos in this field are all being told to look for natural dyeing as a solution. So what I'm trying to say is that as we are speaking, there are big brands who are already doing a lot of experiments with natural dyes on their flow as an industrial process. This being said, there is still a lot of problems in application of it, in the mindset change to accept it, in the mindset change of people to use it in their industries. It's not so easy. I think a simple analogy or an example I would give is that all of us know what we need to do to keep fit. And yet we are here, always making plans for how I'm going to start running tomorrow, how I'm going to start exercising today, I'm going to start eating right. And it's so difficult, right? So I think something like that is what is the problem with the textile industry as well. There is just so much of fast fashion. There is just so much of greenwashing. There is just so much of options in chemical dyes, and so little knowledge about natural dyes. Such little people, very few people who are actually doing natural dyeing, that it's almost looks like it's not viable. It's not possible. Where is it? Like, even if I want to wear today, where do I go? And I'm here to answer some of these questions to you. And I'm also here to attempt to answer some of the questions, because this answering of all of these things requires collective thinking, collective action. It is not anybody's job to solve these problems. And I'm hoping that I can share some beautiful sides of the work that is happening, and the ugly side of fashion, which we need to know about. So, to begin with, I would like to talk about water and the relationship of textiles with water. I think that's one of the major relationships that we need to understand if we talk about, dyes and colors. So, I would like to share my screen and run you through a presentation that I've put together, and then we can. I'd love to talk more about other aspects. I hope the screen is visible. I think it is. So, impact of color, that's how I've named my thing. And water pollution and solution is what the major crux of the problem is around color and textiles. I'm not going to read this because I'll let you see it and absorb and remember, because I think all of us in our geography lessons have learned about this. So, what many people do not know is about the source of chemical dyes. Where does it really come from? Where does? So, when I often ask people in my classes as well, and they say chemicals and maybe factories, and then they don't know where. The source trail runs dry there, but the real source is petroleum and the byproducts of petroleum. So everything, all the chemicals are coming from there. So if you think about where is petroleum found, that's where our answer is why it is not really going to be able to be cleaned up completely. So petroleum is not found on the surface of the planet at all. It's found very deep inside. And it is probably kept deep inside because we were not meant to touch it. We were not meant to bring it outside. Petroleum on the surface has not been found to be digestible, to be broken down, to be, composted, or whatever those things are. Whatever we make from petroleum, things like plastics, polyester, chemicals, all of these become very difficult, inorganic, complex compounds that cannot be broken up by our ecosystem. And if we all know that our ecosystem works on the principle of birth and death, everything that is born, it dies, and everything can be composted, and there is no waste that nature creates. However, when we talk about chemical dyes and things like these, then I'm just going to shift this down. Yeah. Then it's difficult to, when we talk about chemical dyes and anything from petroleum, it's very difficult to break it down. Oh, yes, the simple act of washing clothes. Actually, our whole environment, the plants and the dyes coming from plants, if we could make natural dyes, are slightly acidic. Our skin is acidic. There is no alkali in nature which is, working as such. And the detergents that we use are really very strong alkali, and they contain bleach as well, which is a very, very big source of pollution. So, yeah, just washing your clothes, that simple act could be very polluting. This is something when I found, I was completely zapped. So, one of the interesting things about questioning curiosity about dyes would be, where are dyeing units found? If you look around the world, the dyeing units are found in India, in Vietnam, in China, in all of the some of the South Asian countries, but they are hardly found in many other countries of the world, simply because even Bangladesh, I mean, simply because it is a very, very dirty industry. Wherever dyes industries are there, the water sources, rivers, underground water, they get polluted. And we're talking about drinking water. And I think all of us kind of may be aware of that the next war could be for water. Water crisis is a very real thing. And in middle of all of this, we are using our very, very precious drinking water to completely become poison because of fast fashion and because of fashion. So there is a place, I mean, in India, Ahmedabad, everybody knows about it. I'll just talk to you about that because I know about the place and what happens there. So in Ahmedabad, there are many textile units which do dyeing. It was called the Manchester of India earlier, and even today, a lot of dye processing happens there. And in some places, because the companies are not allowed to throw water outside, they actually reverse bore water inside, which means that the groundwater, which is our emergency reserve for water, which has been collecting by rainwater, seeping into the soil and collecting and slowly building this reserve, is completely polluted with one reverse boring. And that water, so many people who live near textile mills, these dyeing industries, the workers, when they dig a borewell or something, they get colored water and they have to go very far to fetch clean water. Yeah, this is another, I mean, there's a multitude of impact. This is another very, very practical and problematic impact, is about the optical quality of water. Because the dyes are so colored and they're full of color, the optical quality of water bodies becomes really low, and therefore plants can't sustain, photosynthesis cannot happen. But I mean, now people do use chemicals to clean the color and then they release it. So it's still carrying insoluble compounds. It is still carrying metals. It is still carrying all the chemicals. But because of the pollution board on everybody's head, big industries use chemicals to just clean the water color and then release it. This is a short film that I'd like to show you. Oops, sorry. I was just worrying if everybody can hear the sound.
Yes, we can.
This is not a video about how vital water is. You already know that. This is not about how we are running out of it. You probably know about it. This is about water pollution and how the textile industry plays a major role in it. To give some perspective, a life cycle of one t-shirt pollutes around 2,700 liters of water. A big part of that pollution comes from dyeing, which is the coloring of these fabrics. Most of our clothes, if not all, are dyed using synthetic chemical dyes, which are made up of inorganic compounds that contaminate our water. What's even more shocking is that on an average, any synthetic chemical dye holds between 8,000 to 15,000 different inorganic compounds. These compounds not only pollute our water, but also our skin. There's also an indirect source of pollution as water gets additionally polluted in preparation of raw material used in these dyes. And if all that wasn't enough, there's something making this crisis even worse. Fast fashion. Fast fashion is a recent trend in clothing that is characterized by rapid production and rotation of trendy clothing produced at bulk. This bulk makes our clothes cheaper, but the true cost of this cheap, trendy clothing is much higher. If you think this pandemic is bad, something that will probably last a year or two, think about the long-term severe environmental impact on our water systems, which will last generations.
Hi, we are t-shirt manufacturers.
Okay, go back to the slide. So let's talk about cleaning, because I mean, all the textile industry will always claim that they're cleaning water. The government and the pollution board is not just sitting quiet while all this is happening. They are working very hard, and their efforts are to make the industry responsible to clean water before they release it. But the fact of the story is this, that it's almost impossible to clean. And there are things like incinerating, there are things like making it just remove the color. There are things like showing a cleaning unit in the daytime and in the night release the water. There are instances like where people may be releasing tons of water, but they have a unit that can only clean some thousands of liters. So there are n number of things. And then there's also the fact that textile industry is a huge unorganized sector. How many big industries do we really know? But there are massive, massive unorganized sector, especially we know that it's there in India, Bangladesh, many places. So the very small industries, the very small, even vegetable dyers, I would say, and even artisans, I would say, they are not under the scanner of pollution board, because for that you need to be some sort of a big industry so that they can approach you and they can check on you and they can censor you and ask you why you're polluting. But all of these industries, nobody's asking them. They're using anything and everything under the sun to be able to get the result that they need. In fact, one of the things of not using the dye completely is a very big problem. So, for example, you use 100% dye and you absorb only 20% because you use some extra dye. Your cloth would only take 20%. What happens to that 80%? It goes completely into the water. So the efficiency of dyeing, the way it is absorbed, actually those things are way better in a bigger industry than all the small and very individual industries which are there, which have no scanner on their head. So that's one of the issues. But then if you look at handicraft industries or a small industry, they are not the ones who make so many clothes. The ones who are making many clothes are very, very big industries. So the problem is actually not very simple. I would just like to address the layers of the problem and we start thinking about it together. But besides the problem, there is also a solution which is available. And now I would like to play this to talk about the solution.
Hi, welcome to part 2 of Water series. Let's talk about solution to pollution. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is right in front of you. Not me, but the shirt that I'm wearing this. These are not blue stripes, these are indigo stripes. A color which was derived from the indigo plant, which was processed and ultimately applied on this fabric without the use of any toxic chemicals. That is what we call herbal dyes. What makes these dyes unique is the raw material, which is organic plant waste. Sourcing of these causes no stress to our environment whatsoever. Furthermore, the processing of this material into dye form is waterless. Water gets only used in the application of these dyes on the fabric. Unlike chemical dyeing that relies on thousands of different chemicals to imprint color on the fabric and produce a standard shade, herbal dyes use no such chemicals, thus making the water free from contamination. The byproduct of this dye, which is solid waste and water, the solid waste that come out of these dyes can be used as manure, and the water that comes out of this can be freely sent back to a water system without the worry of any pollution. This water cycle of herbal dye is a true solution to water pollution, and such solutions are our only way forward.
So, before we go into the slide about what you can do as a consumer, I'd like to mention that this video you just saw, which was called herbal dyeing and not natural dyeing, was for a reason. So this video talked about the whole process that we at ColourAshram and my co-founders company True Tone, we are following. So what I'd like to say is that though natural dye is a solution to pollution, there are also instances and there are possibilities, and it's happening that many people are using chemicals along with natural dyes as well. So things like vegetable dye and many other practices where they would use fixers chemical, or they would use heavy metal to get a better fastness, a brighter color, and all of those things. So natural dyes would actually mean the color that comes from top of the planet. So it is from plants, minerals, soil, everything that grows on the top, and our environment knows how to digest it, how to work with it. It's compostable. It enters that cycle where the compounds are not complex and they are easily biodegradable, and it goes in the water system, soil system. It does not pollute. The fishes can eat it like a food. The soil knows how to filter the water, with the minerals and all, and then the clean water can be still collected as a groundwater. So the idea is that we mimic nature and we use something that nature is used to. However, natural dyes, if the color could come from plants, the fixer and other additives could be completely synthetic. They could be complex. They could be Fevicol. They could be binders which are poly-based, polymer-based. There could be so many things. So just knowing that somebody is using natural dye is not enough. You also have to ask them what other chemicals are they using? Is the whole process chemical free? What binders they are using? I know it's a lot for anybody to absorb just now, especially for this is a new information to them, to you. But slowly you can actually try to, when you go deeper in the subject as much as you want to, you can find out that these are some of the questions that you need to ask if you're concerned about the ecological impact of natural dyes. Coming back to this slide, what can you do as a consumer? So yeah, I mean, you can absolutely, natural dye industry is yet a very, very baby industry. It's not even, it's not even grown at all we don't even have 1% of the textile industry of the world is not natural yet. So there is a huge place for it to grow. And this growth can only happen from consumers. It will not happen from government side. It will, as much as we feel, it's not going to be pushed by any corporates or government. I think what I found in my journey of 13 years of working with natural dyes is that the consumers are the right people. And if they are aware and they demand it, it's going to happen. Natural dye garments are not as easy maintenance as chemical dye, especially not as polyester. Today, we are all used to having polyester blended garments, because it's very easy. Don't have to iron them. You can wash, you can maybe not wash them. You can just, they're maintenance free. But that maintenance free comes with a huge cost of it being plastic, of it using synthetic dyes. Natural dyes cannot be used on synthetic, polyester fabrics. And it doesn't make sense because polyester is, at the end of the day, is plastic. So why would you use natural dyes on it? So on the other hand, natural dyes can be used on natural fibers or man-made sustainable fibers, which are still made from cellulose or wood pulp and other things. So, or even wool and silk, I mean, for that matter. So when we are combining and making these with natural dyes, they demand that we do not use very strong alkali or bleach detergents with them. It demands that you do not give very harsh treatment to them. You don't, use very strong citrics or alkali substances on it, and you dry them in shade. Things like these, there are certain care needed because these colors are coming from nature. They are very gentle, they are mild, and you cannot use a very harsh chemical agent to clean them. Like we live, I mean, in our houses, we would have a lot of chemicals in the form of cleaning agents, right? So when you use natural dye garments, there comes a little requirement for a care, and which is actually very good for your skin as well. And the other thing is that because natural dye is natural, it is going to age, it is going to fade, it is going to change as we age, and we have to accept ourselves aging gracefully, I hope. The same way, natural dye clothes will also fade and they change, but you can always re-dye them. And most people who make these clothes would be happy to re-dye for you. The challenges of natural dye industry. So one of the major challenge, I think, besides the consumers being ready to take wash care and besides we demanding it, is that the market is already full of polyester garments. So that's also a big challenge. And then, as I said, natural dyes could be easily done with toxic metal mordants or fixer, which completely refutes the whole aspect of it being ecologically safe. And third, very important thing. Even if everybody wants to do natural dye, we cannot have fast fashion on any cost. We have to consume less. So we love color, we love art, and we love clothes, right? And all of this, I'm saying, can be done with natural dyes. At ColourAshram, we are a training academy for brands, startups, hobbyists, industries as well, to train them to use natural dyes for dyeing, for printing, block printing, screen printing, rotary printing, I mean, all kinds of dyeing in machines as well. So what I'm trying to say is that it does not need to be a handicraft industry. What is very special about our work, and especially my co-founders team and work, is that they have worked for 15 years, more than 15 years, I would say, to make it applicable on the machines. And today, we are actually working with very, very big companies like Decathlon, Victoria's Secrets, and many other companies who are experimenting with our dyes. Their vendors are using our dyes, and the process can be done. I mean, that's the first thing to really celebrate, that it is possible to use the same textile machines and only replace the dyes. But what is the problem then? We'll come to it. This is I think, about our Instagram, website, YouTube, and you're free to follow us, find us, write to us. We're happy to talk to you if you want to know more. These are some of the things that we do. Master classes. We have DIY kits for people who want to learn by themselves. We have residency projects for artists, and we have incubation projects for brands. We are also doing experience sessions by just healing with natural color. And we're happy to work with artisans if they want to switch from chemical to natural, because they are smaller and easier to switch small people than to move big industries. With this, my PowerPoint ends, and I'm going to stop share and come back. Yeah. So that was a little bit. Sorry. Hi.
Hi. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Amazing.
You went to see something? Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. No, I was just continuing. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I still have some things to say. Yeah. After
Sure. Please go ahead.
So, I was just coming to why natural dyes is not, even though it's a solution, why is it not being seen in shops yet, in brands that we love yet, in the industries yet? there is one of the major reasons. So there are many reasons, and I don't know, I have no authority to really say about like what are the exact reasons, but I can just share some of the things that I have learned in my journey, because we do work with industries. My co-founder is working completely on industrial side, and I'm working on the educational side as well as training startup brands to start this journey. The good news is that all the young brands who are coming up from design colleges want to go sustainable. And so, I mean, my 95% of my students are brands who want to start their own brand with a sustainable, foot. The bad news about this is that there is no course available in any textile and design colleges in India that teach you about natural dyeing. It's a small theory subject, and it doesn't really train anything technically. Some of the things that people do is by looking at YouTube videos. That's not the right way to learn natural dyeing. Natural dyeing deserves a whole technical laboratory process training, as it should be. And sadly, there is no place in India to learn it. And I don't know of any other actual institute in the world as well. But the place where students are sent to see and learn natural dyeing is at handicraft clusters, But that's not handicrafts are very geographically linked to a place and process. What the Dabu people can do in Gujarat in their place, you cannot do it in any other city in the world or maybe in any part of the India. It's very connected to their mud and to their water and their process and the whole lineage of the whole wisdom that the whole culture has. So we should absolutely respect and we love handicrafts, but that is not going to be solving the problem of pollution. The tons of clothes that are coming out from big industries are the reason why water is getting polluted, not by handicraft people. And they cannot teach because their knowledge is transferred by years of their families, generations doing it. We cannot just go and learn it. And even if you do it, there are many people who learn and they love to learn it for their hobby. But I am yet to see professional people who can actually learn it and apply it in an industrial level or in the production level. And most of these handicraft dyers would not teach you anything more than just a few things that you can understand, because a lot of the recipes are secret, right? They would only give it to their children. And so it's a very closed circuit. In natural dye industry, actually, you cannot add up and become a good dyer. I mean, to especially do production level dyeing. So the idea to decentralize it, to make it available, to make it democratic, to make it a proper course is what ColourAshram is doing. So we have training and workshop modules. We would like to, graduate to making certificate year-long modules for people and all of that. And for that, we need students. We need people who are willing to take the jump into it. And we have a lot of people who come for short workshops, and the mentality is still about that, it's a workshop that I want to do quickly and then I want to start. Even when the brands come. Thank you so much for all the questions, and I'll be happy to take them, but keep writing the questions, guys. Thank you so much. So yeah, as I was saying, that we need people to give as much respect as they spend 4 years and 3 years to do courses, of design and art and textiles and everything, and they can't give 1 year to learn natural dyeing, and then they want to start a brand and production. That's not going to happen. So I think the whole mental connection with natural dyeing being a valid, proper technical field is missing. And that's because there is no example in front of us, right? As I said, the colleges are not teaching them. Government is not yet talking about. In our textile ministry, natural dyes is not even a standard. So there is no standard for natural dye. We are yet to go to the government and ask them to make a standard for natural dyes. So there is, as you see, a lot of things that needs to be done. And I'm really grateful for MAP Academy to be able to help me reach a lot of you who are watching today. This movement has to come from consumers. We need to be aware that it's possible and we can demand it. So those are some of the things. The other thing, at the industrial level, we have worked with a lot of industries, and they did come to us that we want to go natural. What happens then? Why is still no industry really out with a huge range of natural dye products? Is because there's a big mindset block. So if one person in the company decides to do it, the other people may not be on the team. The laborers on the floor may not be ready to do it. The person in the lab will just say, no, it's not going to work. So we need a lot of people to say yes to it. We need a lot of people to say, I will try it. And we need some people to say that I'm going to go by this and you have to do this. So from top to bottom, there has to be a training of mindset first. There has to be some kind of approach where everybody tries to understand that it is ultimately for everybody's good. Our grandchildren and children are all entering into a world which is going to be extremely dirty. And the way of cleaning is to look at clean technologies like natural dyeing. I'm calling it a technology because it can be done on a very huge scale. It can dye thousands of meters in a day. It can print within seconds, using natural dye. And I'm not saying this because it is possible. I'm saying this because it is done. It has been tried and tested. Okay, so we are not going to get 1 lakh shades that Pantone, which is, I don't know if you know, Pantone is a chemical dye shade card where you have more than 1 lakh shades maybe. So we cannot get 1 lakh shades right now, but we can still have multiple shades. And once more industries start using natural dyes, there will be a boom. There will be more shades. There will be more varieties. There'll be more choices for people. But at this point, when it is still a very nascent industry, it's not taken up the respect of being a viable, commercially viable technique. It is difficult, with a very, very few companies, just a handful of companies, a handful of brands who are trying to make natural dye clothes and sell them. It's not going to happen. You can't get a huge variety by a handful of people doing something. You will get a variety when a lot of people get on board with this. So as much as we love textiles, we love craft, we love techniques, and all of this, I think and as much as we love our cheap clothing, we love that clothing has become very, very affordable and we can buy every single day if we want to. Great for economic sustainability, great for cultural sustainability, but it's time that we focus on ecological sustainability. Because how do we, if we do not have, if humanity doesn't survive, what good is it going to have exotic crafts or exotic textiles or, the most glamorous garment? It doesn't make sense. So I would urge that all of us educate ourselves about these things, talk about it in your family dinners and your friends, create a buzzword around it. The more this thing goes viral, that there are chemicals in our clothes and we can do something about it. Trust me, if the big industries hear that the consumers are ready to pay and to buy and to endorse it, there would be industries who would line up to do natural dyeing. Ultimately, what brands and what companies want to do is to sell, to be able to please people. But it's just that it's such a greenwashed subject. And it is also so much in the benefit of these companies not to let this information go out to public, because it is a headache at the end of the day. It is not for 100 years, we've been using synthetic dyeing. So the people, the mindset, the production units are all used to a certain system. And it is way easier to dye with a chemical dye. It's way easier to do something with polyester and a flowy fabric, which is unsustainable, than to work with natural fabrics, right? So this difficult switch, I think the motivator is only going to be economic benefit of having more sales. And that benefit is what consumers can give, what you and me can give. So I think here are some of the points. And as I'm just checking if I've covered the points that I wanted to cover today. Just 2 more things. One is that it's also very, very beautiful on the skin. I've been wearing natural light clothing for past 13 years, every single day of my life, except my sports innerwear and I think raincoat. I don't think I have any polyester garments in my wardrobe. Even for a party, I can wear a natural dyed sari. There are beautiful, you can dye natural dye on anything, on silk, on satin, on georgette, on whatever. I mean, all these, I mean, a lot of people here would understand what I'm talking about. So you can make something glamorous. It doesn't have to be chemical. Of course, you would have restrictions, but that's why we have design. That's why we have art. That's where we have, choice of, healthy, options in our lives. So we do want to stay healthy. We do want to live healthy. Then we can do these things. That is one thing. Second thing is about greenwashing. People, please be aware. Just because someone says that they're doing natural dyeing doesn't mean that they're not doing natural dyeing. You have to look into the process, what they're doing, what they're saying. There would be something written in very fine prints, especially if it's big industries, they have to mention exactly what they're doing. But with small industries, small brands, there is no way you can find out. So try to go a little deeper into the subject. What you can do and what I would love to do is if we can do a session again on exactly how to find out what is natural, what is not, what are the questions to ask and all of that. We would need a separate long sessions to do that, but it's possible to do that. So with this, I think I'm in time and I'm happy to take in questions right now. Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much, Namrata, for the presentation. I think you've given us a lot to think about and act on. It was quite insightful. We can now open up for questions. I think we already have a few. But before going on to the questions from the chat, we actually already have one from a participant from one of the forms we had shared prior to the talk. This is from Isha Priya Singh, and she asks, the sustainability of natural dyeing is often questioned for being a water-intensive process. How do you address this issue? And is there a way of using natural dyeing at an industrial level? I think Alice also has a similar question. How can a brand scale if you're just using natural dye fabrics? Yeah,
it's a great question. So there are two answers to it. Number one, natural dye industry, if it is not using heavy metals and synthetic mordants, it can actually recycle 75% of the water. You can clean and make it drinking water. It is possible to clean the water. So synthetic dye would pollute water only. It can't use also. It can't recycle, upcycle, whatever. Natural dye industry can recycle, upcycle, and it uses water. It doesn't pollute water. But it's very important that they are not using in the pre-post processes also very harmful chemicals. There are many, many eco-friendly options of doing bleaching, of the post-processing, the washing, and those can be actually used to make it completely clean and the water will not be impacted. But water intensive, yes. The hand dyeing is actually very water intensive. And if machine dyeing of natural dyes could be done, it could cut down water a huge number. So, I mean, more than 20 times less water, more than 100 times. So the more effective a machine, the more meters are dyed at one lot, the lesser and lesser water could be used. So if hand dyeing for something could take 100 liters of water, machine dyeing could do it in just 20 liters. And it would also give even dyeing. So yes, machine dyeing is possible. We already do it. We can dye 500 meters at one go with the limited machines that we have. If there are bigger machines, they can do 1,000 meters at one go. And this water, as I said, can be recycled as well. So yeah, hand dyeing is water intensive. That's true.
Thanks, Namrata. Another question is azo-free dyes versus natural dye.
Azo-free is still chemical dyes. So in chemical dyes, they have been finding with every year. Germany was the first country to find synthetic dye, by the way. And Germany has been the first country to keep banning one chemical after the other from the dye world. So azo dyes have been grouped into a compound that have been completely proven to be cancerous. And these now, any country who exports clothes, they cannot use azo dyes in their processes But in the local country, like in India, we are still selling azo dyes. In Bangladesh, they're still, so our consumers are still using them. So the cheaper you buy a textile, the more chances of it having an azo dye, very bad kind of dyeing. Export quality garments are using azo-free dye, which only means that it is less harmful, but it is still very, very harmful. And if we remove, actually, if all the chemicals that were harmful were removed, there would be no textile industry. I think that's the answer.
Thank you. Another question from Anushka Tahiliani. For the uninformed consumer, a naturally dyed and ethically made garment is priced much higher than a garment that's mass manufactured. Apart from raising more awareness and relying on the consumer's conscience to increase demand, how do we bridge this gap? How can we convince more people to choose their clothing responsibly?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question again. So I'm so glad people are asking the right questions. So it is very difficult because of the simple logic of demand and supply. Because the demand is so less, there are very, very few people making it. So if any one of you knows business, that if when the production can increase, the price can come down. In very low scale, the prices have to be very high. More so because all the ingredients and things that they're getting, the labor included, if it is hand processed in natural dyeing, it will be expensive. It cannot be like any handicraft industry, it cannot be cheaper. The only way to get a mass product in natural dye has to be industrial. And industry can only survive if it has a lot of demand. If once a brand decided to do one collection in natural dye, which is what happens, okay, big brands, when they say they go natural, they only go for one collection. Rest of the collection is completely chemical. So an industry cannot survive on the demand of that one collection, right? There is 365 days in a year. If somebody builds an industry today of natural dye, it has to get work every single day, otherwise it will run into losses. So the whole thing is about demand and supply. But to answer your question, what can we do just now? You have to think in terms of buy one instead of 3 or 4 garments or 2 garments. I mean, I'm thinking like if it's H&M t-shirts, you can think of 4 garments. If it is a proper cotton garment, maybe instead of 2, you can buy 1. So that's very relative about how much. But buying less is something important. Maybe you can't change your whole wardrobe, and we're not asking anybody to do that. It's difficult. I mean, I do natural dyeing myself, so it's easy for me to dye it and just wear it and then keep changing the color. So, but for people, if you can just have 2 or 3 garments in your wardrobe, that would be amazing. What it'll do is like all of us selecting 2 or 3 garments and going to these people, natural dye brands need to be motivated that there is a market for it. Right now, when they go into exhibitions and all, it is super expensive. First of all, the cost of production is very high, and then the selling place is very expensive. The shops would take 40% margin, which is you don't earn that kind of margin in natural dye. So I think empathize that people who are doing natural dyeing work are, and I'm not talking about people who are greenwashing and not doing the actual work. Yeah, that we'll have to find out. But they are really putting a lot of effort and energy into it, and they're not making a lot of money. And they need endorsement and encouragement from people like us. So I hope that answers. Yeah.
Yeah, just to, I think, add on to that, Nandini Elango has asked, how can you tell us more about greenwashing, especially brands that claim to be natural prints, natural dyes, sustainable? How do we identify and know better? And we also have a question, are brands like Fab India and Anoki using natural dyes? When I asked them,
Yeah, I was just coming to that. So yeah, no, Fab India, Noki, none of them are natural dye. So here's the greenwashing thing. When people use natural dye motifs and colors and make clothes in chemical dyes, when you enter the shop, you have a feeling that it's natural dye. They did not say it anywhere. And they would have a poster somewhere saying that indigo dyeing is this, and you make the dots, you connect it. If you ask them, is this natural dye? They will tell you, no, it's not. So what, and then them doing a small part of the work, one collection in natural dyeing, and then assuming and showing, or that the whole collection, the whole shop is natural dyed, is another very big greenwashing problem. So as I said, a designer would do one show in natural dye to establish and to be seen as ethical, but the rest of the collection is, so you have to ask questions whether, if don't assume. I think that's one of the biggest tool you can have. Second thing is, if they're saying it's natural dye, you ask them, what are you using for fixing it? How do you process it? Are you using any chemicals along with it? Most people will tell you, if they are reputed brands, they have to tell you that what they do. So that's another thing. Third thing is that there is a very crude test to find out whether something is natural dye, even and to test it. So if you have a natural dyed garment, you take a lemon and rub on one corner of the fabric or whatever, and then you iron on the reverse side. If it is natural dyed, it'll get bleached. Lemon is a strong bleach in nature. It is a strong citric content. Chemical dyes will never get bleached with lemon. I mean, this is a very crude test. If you're working as a designer with fabrics, maybe you can do this. But most of the times, it's difficult to identify. There is also shade card, actually. Natural dye shade card. If you start looking at natural dye brands, authentic ones, then you will see that the shade card is very earthy and different than a chemical shade card. I mean, I can look at a chemical color and and if people say that this is natural dye, I'm like, no, this is not possible in natural dye. So go back and look up what are the shades that come out of the plants. There are many brands who are showing the dyeing and everything. Look at that shade card and then try and get yourself, introduced to the shade card. Then you will automatically start seeing that, okay, this color is actually not possible in natural. For example, I can tell you that any fluorescent colors are not possible. Jet black is not possible. Turquoise is not possible. There are so many colors that are not possible in natural dyes. So that's also one of the things. Besides that, I think there are many, many more things, but more so about reading a little bit about the process. If they're not telling too much, that's because sustainable brands love to be transparent, I think. And that's one thing maybe you can check out as well.
I think that's quite insightful. Thank you. Perhaps we can take one last question because we're out of time. And if she asks, what could be the possible disadvantages of using natural dyes on a very large scale, and how much of the natural resources would get depleted?
Excellent question again, and that's what brands come up with. They come up with loads of excuses not to go natural. Okay. And one of the things is that, what will happen to the food and the nature and everything. First of all, natural dyes doesn't need to use anything which is edible. It can be made from the waste of nature. So the peel of a pomegranate gives color. The flower which falls, after, blooming gives color. Onion peel can give color. Many roots and leaves can give color. So there are many, many things that are not edible. Secondly, natural dye is not supposed to support fast fashion. So we have to consume less. And we are not saying that the whole world needs to go natural. I don't even know if it's a possibility also. We're just saying, can we create a small market, a place in the shelf for natural dye? So let's not go into the complex and the if this happens, then what, if that happens, that what. That is again, that's a mind playing games with us. What we can do is that, okay, if I just want to have a few garments in my wardrobe as natural, is it possible? And that's possible, and that's doable. So I think that answers the question, right? Was there something else? No.
Yeah, there's another question.
Yes.
And perhaps you can end with that. Shivam asks, what's the durability of the natural dye? I meant to say that the number of wash after which the color of the apparel fades. Also, the luxury brands uses less dyeing techniques and focus on the fabric, stitches, etc. How to include the natural dyes to give it a more luxurious feel?
Yeah, very, very great question. So durability, yes, there is if correct kind of detergent, which means a mild pH detergent, and more or less neutral pH detergent, not bleach detergents if they are used, the colors can be washed in washing machine actually. So I wash my garments every day. I've already worn this 20 times maybe, and I wash it in washing machine with just liquid soap in it. So that's good enough. But again, having said that, who are you buying from? That's very important. If the dyer has not done a good job, then the dyes can fade and release into the water more quickly. So the dyeing practice and the technique still has to be very good, which is the onus and responsibility of the dyer and the company who's dyeing. That's where professional machine dyeing really comes very handy. So when machine dyeing and industrial level dyeing is done, they do a lot of due tests that will not let the color bleed and all of that, because they can't release these things in the market, but a small handicraft dyer can. So these are some of the problems. Thirdly, you have to dry it in shade, and durability wise, I think they do not do as well as chemical dyes, and they certainly don't do well as polyester garments. But it is decent. I mean, for 20 washes, natural dye garments can go really well. Then it'll start fading. It may start fading earlier if you use strong detergents, but it can fade very beautifully. You won't even know that, okay, I had bought this shade, now it's become this shade, because you can actually wear 10 shades in the lifetime of that garment, and after that you have to re-dye it, or you can wear the same one light version also. So yeah, the care by the consumer is very important. The wash label by the brand is very important. And about the fabric choices of the luxury brands, there is a lot of options today. There is many kinds of natural silks available. There are many kinds of natural cellulosic fiber like modal and things available, which have a lot of good flow. Georgette can be dyed. There are many luxury, so all luxury fabrics can be dyed with natural dyes, but polyester, except polyester. So if you're using polyester and natural dyes, that doesn't make sense at all. So I think there is a lot of option. But yes, if you look at the gamut of number of synthetic blended fabrics available today in terms of feel and all, that's not going to be workable for luxury. And I think many people ask me that how can they contact. Some people want to join my team. I'm so happy to hear that, guys. We need many people to work with us. So I think our email ID is colorashramfoundation@gmail.com, and it is COLOR. It's not COLOUR. And also a good way would be just to find us on Instagram or on website. So it's just ColourAshram Foundation. Krishna, can you type it also on the chat? Yeah.
Just type it.
Okay, yeah, sure. That'll be nice. And I think, so you can DM us, you can write to us, you can find our website and contact. There's a connect with us form on our homepage, and anybody who wants to get in touch with us can fill that form and we'll definitely call you back. So, but guys, this is only the beginning. I'm sure you'll find a lot of people along the line now who are doing natural dyeing work and who are interested and passionate about natural dyes. Meet them, talk to them, spread the news, and get yourself to know more about it. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah.